Hey Tribe, today we're going to give you 3 tips, 3 movements that you can do to help improve your squat and relieve any hip impingement that you have. We're going to start off first on a lateral hip opener. So if we end up getting to a squat and we feel an impingement in here, or we're stretching and we have that impingement going on here, a lot of times our femur sitting into our joint capsule is offset. So, and I know you guys aren't anatomy and physiology gurus, but in general we have a joint capsule down here, and we'll just say it looks like a horseshoe. We have the head of our femur that's going to be sitting inside that capsule going down. If our body has been sitting throughout the day a lot, what happens is that femur can take a side or kind of sit in the back side of that socket, and instead of having even space around that socket to move, or that joint capsule, it kind of favors one side, which when we move in some directions, it's freeing, and we move in other directions, we get that impingement. So our goal with the band is to help pull that bone, or that femur, back into a balanced position in the joint capsule and allow it to move freer. So that is the reason why we're attaching the band, to help open up the hip impingement. And if we're unsure at which way we're getting that impingement, or which way that femur is sitting in that joint capsule, these 3 movements or exercises are going to help you just hit all of that and get the best out of your squat. So back to what we were saying, we're going into that lateral movement first. Nadine's going to take that band, and in general you want to be 90 degrees to the band. So if the band's here, you want your hip here. We're going to put her in this position so you guys can kind of see what's going on with that hip. Yeah, we're going to go a little bit out of 45. Good. But in general, she's getting that band to pull from the side of her body. I like to make sure that that knee is directly underneath the hip to start, so we have knee and hip alignment. She can drop down to the elbows, and with this band already being tight, she's going to rock her body back and forth. So we're almost putting it through that squat position. She's keeping those toes tucked. And in general, what she can do is, after she moves through that, she can shift her body further away from the rig to make a little bit more tension. You can also know that she's rotating her hips side to side like she just did, which can also kind of help free up some of the joint capsule. But you're going to spend about 2 minutes into this position, moving slowly. If she finds a spot, like maybe she found a spot and deeper into that squat, that seated squat or that child's pose position, she might hang out there for a little bit longer to kind of relieve some of that tension. But you are going to feel that tension. You are going to feel that pulling of that leg out to the side, but just shifting forward and back to where we can feel it. Feel free to have a little bit more or have a little creativity in this movement. So if you want to shift back a little bit, change the angle up slightly, you can. But working about 2 minutes per side with doing a lateral hip pull is going to help you kind of relieve some of that tension in that impingement. All right, let's move on to the second one. Second one, we could stand up. We're going to bring that band a little bit higher. And in general, right around where the hip is, we're going to tie that band in, and you're going to get it right underneath the glute. High up, right underneath the glute, you'll have where your sits bone attaches, or where your sits bone is where your hamstring attaches, the ischial tuberosity. That's where we want that band to be sitting. We're going to create some sort of tension on this band. She's going to have that foot back that is tied in. So the leg that is tied in, that's the leg that's going to be stepping back, staying on the toe into the ball of the foot, the metatarsal pad. Wide stance that we're into a lunge, and we can just hang out here first and rock our body side to side laterally. If we feel any tension or anything that's going on, and from there, after we do that a couple times, we can go in a little bit into a lunge. And as we lunge, we're going to keep that torso upright. We're going to try and keep that tension and drive the front part of the pelvis forward while maintaining a vertical position. So as we move up and down, we're moving vertically up and down. We're not collapsing forward. This is going to help kind of open the front side of the hip as well too, while getting a banded distraction pull on the back side of that hamstring. Hang out in those positions. We can hang out in that bottom of that lunge, go back up to rocking the hips. Take your brain out of this. Just move, just rock, rotate maybe a little bit, add in a couple lunges, have a conversation with somebody while you're doing this, so it's not like I have to set the time to do this with our busy schedules, but move through there to help get that band of distraction in that direction. Once we finish that up, you can keep that leg tied in. We're just going to do a little bit of a 180. Now we're going to have that band high up on the front side of the hip, as high as we can go technically, and keep that band parallel from the outside to the inside where that band is pulling. Now we're just going to have that leg stepping forward. There is resistance on the band already. We want to try and keep a relaxed quad and relaxed knee. So yes, we do want that knee locked out, but we're going to try and relax the muscles so we're not firing them up. As we have that leg just being kind of lazily put on the ground, we are going to bend over and reach for our toes, and as we do that, we can drive the hip back. And if we drive the hip back, it'll help keep our quad relaxed. Our knee relaxed is what we're trying to shoot for. We're trying to get that band to pull the hip back into place. We can hang out there, we can rock side to side, and then also we can kind of stand up. One thing I will say is why we're doing this is sometimes our hips are going to be rotated like this and people are going to hinge over. So hinge over and kind of reach. And we have this hip opening up to the side. We don't want that. So I'm going to have Nadine kind of come up, and she corrected it right there, which works too, but a lot of us can't. So make sure that we're keeping those hips forward. If you want to put your hands on the hips while you create your first hinge, that might help too, to help pull your glutes back, hinge forward so that the hips are squared off, and then reaching for that toe. Do some exhale. So if we're feeling tension in the hamstring, we can kind of just let those hands off the hips, let them just hang towards the ground. I like to take a good inhale through the nose. As I exhale, I think I'm releasing any tension in the upper back, lower back, mid back, releasing tension in the hamstring, releasing tension into the quad, allowing that front leg to be nice and lazy as we stretch this out and help kind of open up the space in the joint capsule. Hang out there for about 2 minutes, and then we can come up out of there and switch legs. These are 3 ways, once again, to help reduce any hip impingement that we have and increase better range of motion into our squat so we feel better. Give them a try, as always. Like, subscribe, click all those buttons if you like our videos. We'll see you guys next week.